Denis Villeneuve's Dune has arrived, and after watching the film multiple times already, I think it's a modern masterpiece. While it's only the first part of a potential two-part story, it's a film that on its own gets us excited about the Dune universe on screen, equally to that of successful film series like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, and tells the story of a boy who by the end of the film is beginning to develop as a character. It's a cinematic spectacle of huge proportions, immersing us in the classic world of Frank Herbert's novel, while at the same time it's a fantastic Denis Villeneuve film, joining the already incredible list of projects by the director. In this video, I'm going to be listing the reasons why I think the film is a cinematic masterpiece for the ages, even though it is a part of a story that has only just begun. This video essay will also contain spoilers, so if you do happen to be someone who hasn't seen the film yet, then I would recommend watching this video after you've seen it, or you can check out my spoiler-free review on my channel, which I posted last week. But if you want to keep up to date on any of my content surrounding Dune 2021, then don't forget to support this video by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. Also, feel free to check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram at Cortex Videos, which is all linked in the description below. But without further ado, let's dive into my video essay on why I believe Dune is a classic for the ages. So while Dune is only half of the story laid out by Frank Herbert's seminal science fiction novel, against all odds, Denis Villeneuve made a film that feels complete, even though it leaves us and the film's crew salivating for part 2 as soon as the credits rolled. For those unfamiliar with the books, Dune is set in the far, far future when the known universe is ruled by a feudal-like system of great houses. They are led by an all-powerful emperor whose power depends on the spice melange. This enables everything from faster-than-light travel to the prolonging of lives for the rich and powerful to extraordinary mental powers for a select few. The only place in the universe this psychotropic spice is harvested is the inhospitable planet Arrakis, where House Atreides has been sent under orders from the Emperor to serve as the planet's stewards. Broadly, Dune follows Paul Atreides, heir to House Atreides and son of Duke Leto, who sees his family attacked by treacherous enemies and is forced to wander Arrakis in order to survive. The Fremen, indigenous inhabitants of Arrakis, speak of an ancient prophecy waiting to be fulfilled, and Paul learns his destiny is amid the planet's unwelcoming, unforgiving sand dunes. As we see in the film, he goes from Paul Atreides to Paul Muad'Dib, the prophesized leader of the Fremen people, and it is told in all the grandeur yet intimacy that a novel as dense as this should be told like. The best compliment I can give Dune is that it doesn't feel like a 2.5-hour epic, though it certainly looks like one. Villeneuve, whose visual sensibilities have been formidably established by serious sci-fi epics like Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, brings the same weight to the film's pacing and visuals. Dune is a dense story with long stretches of silence and myriad establishing shots of the desert, and its story unfolds meticulously and without speed. But such an approach is necessary to convey the grand sense of scale in Dune, not to mention the intricate political, cultural, religious, ecological, and social systems interconnecting within Herbert's story. The unique tone of Dune serves another purpose too though, as the film seeks to establish itself as a new franchise player in the crowded fantasy sphere. As if to position the film as a new Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, Villeneuve spends much of the runtime enticing his audience to invest in this strange new world, luxuriating in rich details and moving the story through cultures and locations that all feels marvellously distinct from one another. Yet at the same time, at the end of this first film, you feel like you understand the complete general sense and effort of what is going on, and that just shows how incredible of a filmmaker Denis Villeneuve is, in that he can take the unadaptable and make it feel as relatable and impressive as this was. To begin with, Denis Villeneuve and his large crew and cast combine many perfect areas of production to bring this story to life in the modern era. With magnificent costumes and sets that follow geometric designs in ways both futuristic and also ancient, Villeneuve's Dune is impressively unique in its world building. There's war-esque fighter jets in space, the planets from Arrakis to Caladan to Gedi Prime informs everything about its civilizations, and the architecture, colour palettes and set design all showcase the filmmaker's dazzling imagination. Gedi Prime appears as an industrial nightmare, while the hellish deserts of Arrakis inform not only the kinds of vehicles and wardrobes used to survive constant sandstorms and scorching heat, but also the ways its inhabitants behave and what customs they follow. There is certainly something to be said about the way Dune in both the movie and the book appropriates the cultures, history and symbolism to tell the story of Paul, who belongs to neither culture, but the film at least draws a clear, distinct line between how the Fremen act and the nature of Arrakis itself, showcasing a crucial nuance within the worlds on screen. This is, of course, all thanks to Frank Herbert, and he wrote such an excellent book, but this adaptation also screams of the highest quality. Of course, one cannot write about Dune and not mention its iconic sandworms too, and this film does them justice. These enormous beasts are treated more like the shark in Jaws, used sparingly but effectively in order to heighten a sense of dread and tension. The excellent sound design and cinematography also add to this, making small tremblings in the sand reminiscent of cups of water rippling in Jurassic Park. Hans Zimmer of course delivers yet another exquisite score that mixes grandeur and operatic sounds with a surprising rock style, lending Dune a unique sonic palette to match its visuals. The spice harvester scene mixed with Paul having future visions is a moment that sticks out for me, as it combines the best of production with visual storytelling. On one hand, you have a character and house demonstrating to Liet Kynes that they are different from the Harkonnens and that they have a human quality to them by trying to save those in a desperate situation. You also have, from a character point of view with Paul, the idea of him for the first time being thrusted into this dangerous climate as a young adult, all while dealing with prophetic visions and coming into his own. Combine that with huge scaling vehicles and a sandworm that makes these characters look like ants, and you are painting a realistic picture of what a space spectacle of this scale would look like and what it should look like in today's cinematic landscape. And speaking of what brings to life all these characters, even with an ensemble cast as large and impressive as this one, Dune finds the time to give every character screen time, whether it's Oscar Isaac's stoic Duke, Stellan Skarsgård's genuinely scary Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, Jason Momoa's fearless Duncan Idaho, or Rebecca Ferguson's enigmatic and remorseful Lady Jessica. Then at the centre of all of this is Timothée Chalamet's soldiering Paul. He gives arguably the best performance of his young career as Paul Atreides. Subtle and subdued, maintaining a stoic and regal demeanour before strangers, but quietly breaking down in front of those he trusts, this is a young man who understands the burden of being a chosen one. He knows the path of his hero's journey will be paved in the blood of others. Indeed, Dune interrogates the idea of a messiah in a way no other genre movie of this scale has, focusing less on the actual person than on the concept of an anointed one and what belief in such a figure can do to a group of people. Even though some of these characters have limited screen time, every moment feels worth it to the story that is being told, and their characters are completely delivered by the performances on display. In my opinion, Denis Villeneuve has made a film that tells a complete story, but also one that ends on a cliffhanger and can be taken as an invitation to part 2. Of course, this will all be based on if we do see that sequel. I will be going into the ending and this effect in more detail in a separate video later this week, but as I'm alluding to, this ending is one that down the line can satisfy the range of viewers. It tells us that we are going on an extended journey through Zendaya's Chani, literally communicating this at the end of the film, but it also closes the chapter of Paul Atreides with him transitioning into Paul Muad'Dib. The whole movie, he is challenged by the idea of what he could become and how the events going on around him will shape that person. That person who kills Jamis at the end of the film is someone who is now about to take form. But again, the character of Paul Atreides is dead along with most of the house that fought to keep him alive. It's a story of tragedy, but one that also influences the next chapter and meaningful character exploration. Villeneuve chose to end this movie not on a huge climax or battle, but rather a critical moment of character development. Now, although things change and the character of Paul is challenged even more so later on in the book, the message of hope at the end is also revitalizing and a great point to end the story, even in this first part, nostalgic of the science fiction many of us saw growing up. In fact, the film perfectly balances the new and the old through examples in the production, like I mentioned before, with the sets and costumes, but also through its storytelling. It's dense in details, but it's also a very inviting and approachable story in the way Villeneuve has told it. The central arc is Paul's, and without overcrowding it with many plot points and voiceovers, the audience is left to see what unfolds. It's a perfect example of show, not tell, and while other movies need more exposition, Dune could have took that stance. The director and his team didn't, and I think it's all the better for it, introducing a story, characters and locations that can be revisited and learned about even more as we get into more films. Dune feels like The Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring, a story that clearly has more to give, but still delivered a satisfying conclusion to its first chapter. We would be missing out on plenty if part 2 never comes to be, but part 1 is still a saga worth watching and rewatching over and over. More than anything, Dune feels like the start of a story that will soon become a sci-fi filmmaking legend. But that was my video discussing why I believe Denis Villeneuve's Dune is a modern masterpiece. From the production to the characters to the storytelling, Dune is firing on all cylinders, respectfully adapting what really needs to be in a film like this, and it's the kind of project that will inspire many others years from now. It's pure cinema that demands going to a theatre to watch it, not just because of the unbeatable visuals or cinematography, but because of its relatable, grounded and thematic story or events that can inspire you just like 2001: A Space Odyssey did over the decades since it released. Yes, it leaves you wanting more, but there's no denying this first part is one that many will eat up and enjoy, even though the main course is still waiting to be served. It's my favourite science fiction film since Christopher Nolan's Interstellar in 2014, and I can't wait to see how the director brings the second half of Frank Herbert's novel to life in Dune Part 2. I gave the movie a 9.25 out of 10 in my spoiler-free review the other week, and I'm interested to see how the film will compare after many more rewatches in the future. But let me know down below in the comment section what you thought of this latest Dune adaptation, alongside whether you agree with the points I have raised in this video. I will be doing loads more breakdowns on the film, including a video essay on the ending coming in the next few days, so keep a lookout for whenever I post. For much more breakdown videos on Denis Villeneuve's Dune, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.